Everybody, how's it going? Dun, 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 dun. And got my that's interesting. It now has a top fans thing. Interesting. All right, welcome everybody. So we have July seasonality. We do have a holiday week. Market closes early on Thursday. The OPEX for the week, and Friday we're not open. I will do a crypto special on Friday. So I'll still be here. You can count on me, as always. Welcome, Sledge. Lieutenant Colonel Goose. Welcome, Captain Sledge. Gary, Dawn, Darren, and welcome to the show. That's pretty much the crux of what we got going on. So all trading involves a substantial risk of loss. Past performance not necessarily indicative of future results. This presentation is intended to be informational, educational, fun, entertaining, not a recommendation to be buying or selling any financial instrument. So no stocks, options, bonds, forex, futures, cryptos, treasuries, bonds, none of that stuff. If you desire personal financial advice, you want somebody to tell you what to do, how to make money, it's not what I do. It's not what I'm even attempting to do in the market. So you got to hire and consult somebody that you trust to give you advice. And jumping over, look here. 50K challenge right here. It's coming along. We can look at the 3-month results here. 1-year results, of course. We haven't been going longer than 3 months. So when we look at this, you can see we humming along here and started ramping up. Now I actually logged in, so when I click on this, it does shows me all the trades and stuff now. So I can show that off. What have we been doing? Here you go. The one loss was VIX, right here, right down in here. Took a loss. There's the rest of the trades, all the way down to the beginning. Lots and lots of wins. So there you go. There you go, indeed. Hey, Kimberly, my favorite subscriber. Welcome. And that's what we got cooking. I got some kind of, excuse me a second. There. Apparently I don't know if I splattered my lunch on my face or what, but every time I turned, there was a streak right across the screen. I was like, there we go. Got it now. So the S&P ground higher. Uh-oh. Look at this. S5FI crossing 80 again. Back up to the top. Look at that. Stocks above the 50-day. Made a return to the top. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Wonder if the S5GW back to the top. Big rally day. S5TH not doing crap. Still sitting at 53. Of course. Interesting. Even though the S&P was basically flat from the entirety of the day. Nothing. Big bunch of nothing. Gap down. Closed back. Right in the ballpark of where we closed on yesterday. Should be interesting, I guess. Grind higher until we don't. That's what we got. We are done with the first half of the year. On to the second half. We have financials coming up. Starting on the 15th, I believe it is. Right here. So it's not next week, but it's the week after that. So next week will be kind of this quagmire week. We don't really have a lot of anything happening. Look at earnings coming up. Not a ton this week, just a few. Let's see, we got 72 earnings today, 34 tomorrow, 51 Thursday, and 43 on Friday. Even when the market closed, we got 43. And then next week, 40 on Monday, 76, 97. There you go, 327, 349. So next Thursday, Friday, we're going to start ramping this up. Pretty good. And this is all stuff. So, all over the place. We'll have all over the place earnings start ramping up. Then the following week, that's where we really start picking it up. 173, 487, 520, 791, 729. Oh, yeah. The following week, probably even more. 650, 1800, 2400, 822. And yeah, that'll probably run on. Yeah. There's the big week right there. Heading into August. Probably the biggest week. Probably start ramping back down slightly. Yeah, so should be ramping up and then ramping back down into mid-August. Of course, we have earnings almost every single week, no matter what. It's just that typically we kind of peter out toward the end of the quarter. As you can see, heading into September, we start slowing it down back into only 100 or so. And we get to the end of September, winding down, and then pick it back up in October. So it should be interesting. Whole nother cycle, whole nother ball of wax. And we are extended to the upside on the S&P. Leaves a lot of room for a negative reaction here. A lot of room for a negative reaction. We are set for a rally on up to 63.45. 63.45-ish. Put that on the log mode. And yeah. Probably gonna do it. That is a weekly roadmap bounce right there. Weekly chart bounce. Set it up for the bounce. And yeah. Not much to say about that. It'll probably go higher. And Kimberly now number one. That's a new feature. Like, that's top fans. It didn't do that this morning, but now it's doing it. So I guess the number one chatter. Now you get to find out who the number one chatter is. And surprise, surprise, it's the boss. All right. Look at the calendar. Like it. So, jumping in, look at the calendar. Don't really have much. We'll get the jobs. I guess they're going to squeeze the jobs report in. Joel's jobs today. Non-farm unemployment on Thursday. ISM. And Friday, of course, 4th of July. Holiday for all of us in the United States. Gigapips. Talk about I bet that's a scam right there. Anyway. Alrighty. Let's see. What else was I going to talk about? Oh, July seasonality, though. There's a reason I make a list. Making a list, checking it twice. Let me go pull up the seasonality charts. Because I stupidly closed them right before I went live. And pop this one out in browser. Pop, where's the next one? Nasdaq seasonality. Pop that out. Here's one. And shoot. Shoot, bang. Here's the other one. There we go. Nasdaq seasonality, as you can see, typically July is a rip. That's looking at the last 20 years, aggregate, pretty much a rip right there. So we could just grind higher into late July. May or may not pull back. But typically from July through the end of the year, Nasdaq 100 tends to go up. Quite a bit. So usually we see 8% first half of the year and well, just shy of 8% first half of the year, and then a little over 8% second half of the year. Pretty bullish for that. Now, VIX seasonality, and these are charts I just keep track of. We usually see a dip, and then we see some ramp. So even though Nasdaq is not the one that typically ramps up, we might see some volatility spike up. And then that's oil, not, I was going to pop up the S&P, but that was not S&P, that was oil. Grab the S&P, open her up, buttercup, throw her over. Got to make that one bigger. So S&P tends to go up in July also. Tend to get some chop in August. And see, from basically the strongest month. And I was on the profit panel this morning. They were talking about that of the last 9 years, green every year. That's kind of a strong month right there for the S&P also. But August through October could be a bit choppy. Could be a bit choppy. So there you go. That's what that's just the seasonality of everything. July tends to be a rip. But we could see VIX bottom out and climb higher into October. Kind of interesting. A big swing in VIX 1 year can skew that whole chart. So looking at this back to, let's just pull up a monthly chart and take a look. All right, we're on July currently. We roll back to July last year. Had a fair ramp up. We go back to July the year before, 2023, June, July. Fair ramp. It was followed by a fair pullback. Look at the July before. Strong rally after a big dip in June. Go back the year before. You can see August, September, kind of choppy a little bit is what we're seeing here. Rally in 21. Go back to 2020. Rally in 2020. Nice solid candle. 2019. Little doji. Not really a big mover, but still green. August was red, notably. July. Nice green. So usually start out optimistic on this second half of the year. July right there, green. 16. July right there, green. 15. 10 years back. Right there. We do get a red. Right there. It was right in the middle of the chop, but it was green. 15. 14 is our first red one. So we've got the red one. That's why they went back 9 years, the last 9 years. We do pick up a red one right there. 13. Back to green again. 12. So seasonality wise, you can start to see why. Nice big fat rip in July. Back to 11. That one was red. Right there. That was a multi-month pullback right there. Down, 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 down. Ouch. Going back to 2010. July was a big fat pop. Bottomed out down here. 2009. Nice big rip. 2008. Big fat down month. Right there. Big spike down, kind of flat, but down. Big dip and a recovery, but then little reprieve and crushed that one. 2006 though, not bad. Little croquet hammer there. So, or maybe just a regular hammer. Anyway, that rolls back basically 20 years. And there's the July right there. So we had like 2 reds out of all that, maybe 3. A little doji. July tends to be pretty darn bullish. Maybe on earnings, maybe on the second half optimism. You tell me what the reason might be, but typically we're pretty green. Sometimes a little bit, sometimes a lot of bit, but pretty green. So there we are. What do I count on? What do I expect? I'm expecting us to hit that upside right there, 63.50, 63.40, 63.50. I don't have it snapped on the candles, but that doesn't negate getting a bigger correction. Right now we have support right around 6,100. If we get below 6,000, we're doing the bigger correction. We could still easily do a 618 retrace of this entire move up. And basically at this point, it puts us right in this vicinity right here, right around 5,600. That is, in case you can't do the math, about a 600 point correction potential. If it takes place in 3 waves, we are probably going higher. If it takes place in a 5-wave down with a 3-wave retrace to a lower high, that is the time to be very, very, very cautious in the market. Right there. And maybe we get a correction on the budget deal. Maybe they pass the big, bold, beautiful bill and it creates a big, bold, beautiful correction. Right there. So we'll see what happens. Right now there's excise taxes on solar and wind projects that slipped into magically slipped into the bill that nobody knows where it came from. There's all sorts of crap that they don't know what. It's the same old. Like we gotta. Like Nancy Pelosi famously said, we gotta pass this healthcare bill so that we can find out what's in it. Are you kidding me? I mean, what the heck? At least drop the thing into an AI and let it summarize it for you. I mean, shoot. Give me the top 100 bullet points, and at least you could read that. Anyway. So, we're probably topping out here. Just a matter of how the next correction unfolds. We're not just going to rip 7,000. It's just not going to happen. Could it happen? It could. Is it likely to happen? Not really. Not without another big correction. We're probably the minimum looking at something like a 10%er after ripping. I mean, this has been one heck of a rip off that low up to the current high. We're talking about almost 30% up, even though S&P is only up 5% for the year. It was almost a 20% correction and then almost a 30% recovery. It's kind of the way things work. You lose 50% of your account, but then it takes 100% to recover, right? It's kind of funny that way. So we did a 20% correction in 21, but then it took a 30% retrace to get back where we were. That's the way percentages work. All right. So diving through, looking at a few things here. That's that was the S&P. Nasdaq. Yeah, gunning for that 23.5. Russell still sitting down here at spicy level. Spicy potential. Could retrace lower level. Did do a beautiful, this was very red this morning and it came back strong. So this was one of the big winners of the day was Russell, but maybe that's all she wrote. And Watch for the retrace of the roadmap line. Test here. If we hold it, that can be good. If we don't hold it, we might get paid on the protection we've got. I've got it out to September, so we'll see what happens there. CL. Retraced, hanging out down here, sitting on the top of support. The next, it was like one big rip, one big dip on this whole war in the Middle East stuff, and then we're right back down into this. Basically, the war put us from being on the bottom side of resistance to the top side of support, and we're just hanging out there. That opens the door for another pop. What the cause is, I don't know. I don't really care. But it does open the door for another pop. UCO might be on its way back up to the $30 to $40 area. Right up in here, 35 to 40. Right up in that zone would be what I expect on the next oil pop. It's guaranteed? No. Nothing's ever guaranteed, but this looks a lot like a measured bounce cooking right here. That pop, this pullback sitting right on that 618, holding firmly. That's a measured bounce. Set up for a bigger run higher. We've got the top, we've got the bottom. That can set the stage for the next rally higher. Right up in here. Right around 100. 100. That's what it looks like. And that's European oil right there. Looking at gasoline futures. 2 attempts at a breakout. The retrace from this low to this high, sitting right at the 618. So this again sets up the potential for another measured bounce breakout. This would rally. If we see this break, probably going to see this rally up to $3 a gallon wholesale. That's without taxes in the United States. So looking at that move right there, that'd be pretty wild. Diesel fuel. Same kind of pattern, same situation. Rally up, 618 retrace, measured bounce. This one's actually pushing higher already. Could see this up in the 320 to 360 area right up here. That's wholesale prices, not including tax. So pump prices will be significantly more. Natural gas, working on the correction here. As I talked about, this will probably do this. Right on out through October, November, December, and we'll probably make our top somewhere around the end of the year. Probably in this vicinity, if not on up at $5, just slightly higher. And GC still looks like it's set for the retrace. I expect support around 3150, then a rally back up in this area, then a next big push down. This is probably a sub move inside. You know, this is probably just still working on the first move down that will probably bottom around 3150. Then we'll probably see a more significant retrace and then a further decline. That would be what I expect. It's possible that we've already made the first move down and come up shy of the ideal, but that just means the next move down could be more violent. Silver churning around in here, lower high. Watch out. That may be ready to retrace to the roadmap line, set up that 618 retrace potential. Measured bounce for the bigger breakout higher right there. Copper also kind of looks a little bit 3-wave move-ish here. That high. Yeah. So it could still poke a higher high on this 3-wave move and then still be corrective and go make a lower low than that low right back there. That'd be an interesting swing of events there for copper. Platinum still looking pretty hot. Consolidating, holding the break above the prior high. I still expect this to rally on up to about 1900 over the coming months, maybe into next year. Palladium. Still has this set of 2 highs back here. Been unable to break above so far. If it gets up to there and can push above that, 1500, 14 to 1500 probably would be another resistance on the upside. This is way down from the all-time high up here around $3,400 per ounce APOZ. I like that. They finally put the... Oh, that one doesn't have it. There's US dollars per pound. It's per 100 pounds. Coffee coming down pretty substantially. Let's see. We got sugar. Pushing lower. That might actually break down and come on down. So this is the question. Is this a measured bounce? Like, was this a 3-wave retrace? Measured bounce, lower low. And we're about to break out and go higher. Or do we break down on down in here and possibly come back down? Not sure. Bigger picture. Looks like a first move down, a retrace to lower high. Next move down could put it on lower here. So if we get below this area, potential is to come on down to about $6. If we break back above that swing high, tips the odds that we might go on up higher from here. Now you may be like, oh, how do you even trade sugar? I'm trying to remember there's a sugar ETF. I'm trying to remember what it is. I thought it was SBB, but maybe, let's see. There's cane right there you can trade. And sugar. I think they changed the ticker. SUGA. Sugar. And then cane. So both of those are ways to trade sugar futures. Interesting opportunity. And trade it by the spoon. That's consume it. That's not really trade it. And trade it for a little bit of reserve currency on the belly, probably. Or refiners. All right. And I guess everyone wants to know our old pal Stinky Bitcoin. Let's check this baby out. Might be working on a sub retrace here. We held the downtrend highs that we started with 2 highs here. Now we've got 3 highs in a row. May retrace this one more time. If we make a lower low, this is where it gets difficult. So 1, 2, 3. If we make this a 4 and a 5, that will be a first move, probably in possibly an A wave, a leading diagonal, in a complex corrective that could be some sort of corrective and then some sort of finale move over here. And it could be a W, an A or a W, and a B, or WX and a Y, or a C wave, or a Y. Not going to be my favorite if we get this into a lower low situation. But worst things have happened. And it is possible that was a A or W. That was the W. This is the X, and this is the Y. If this develops into a 5-wave down, we could have a Y down here. Entirely possible. But right now, we don't have enough evidence to suggest what we're doing. We dive down and look at the smaller time frame. Not exactly clear off that high. Lots of overlap. This big first move down right here, and this kind of retrace right here. Provide overlap. 3-wave down off of that. Not very clear. Looks corrective so far. That may be indicative of a potential breakout in the coming days. So we'll have to see how this further develops. Right now, just no clarity in that move down. Right there. All right. So we've got the main event now. Requests. So if you're a channel member, you get priority requests. Remember, one per person per request, one request per person. Please use complete tickers. And you got to let somebody else go. You got to let 3 or 4 people go. If you start dominating the chat, I'll just skip you and won't look at your tickers. That's kind of the way it goes. Want everybody to same team, but channel members get priority. I'll hit all of the channel members until that kind of exhausts. Then I'll circle back and hit the regular subscribers. And we'll go for at least 30 minutes, probably an hour. And if I get tired or sick or whatever, got to go to the bathroom, I'll wrap it up. So if you got questions, please use complete sentences. And if you refer to something because the chat's going to run way ahead of me. If you say, I don't like it, tell me what it is. Don't just say it. Say, I don't like Apple on that chart, or I don't like, blah, blah, blah. So if you just say it, this, that, these, those, that, I don't know what the heck you're talking about. So please use a complete sentence. Let me know what you're talking about. And let's see. Looks like Target was the first one. So we're still bearish on Target. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put us down here around 70. Probably not bottoming out yet. Tesla. So it's important. This one, I go over this every morning. So you should, if you want up-to-date information on Tesla, you should be here every day. But we have the bigger picture, just like the Mag 7s. Bigger picture, bigger move that could take us down to 100. Right now, smaller picture, just right here. We have this move down. We have a retrace, and we have the second move down potential. Will put us down here around 270, 280, right in here. And that's a thunderstorm outside. I don't know if you heard that on the mic, but if I lose power, like I did the other day, stream's over. I'll do my best to hit as many as I can. IBM. So this looks like potential to top out here. 1618 right up there at 320-ish. No, 300-ish. 303. So we pushed through, came up for our highs, rejected, broke through, right to the 1272 here. Churn a few days, then popping up here, churn a little bit, probably going to pop that 1618. And then that sets the odds we're going to retrace back to the roadmap line area. Doesn't have to. It could just churn sideways until they meet up out here. Or could retrace back to the 1272. So there's like 3 possibilities. After we hit this, either it does a quick retrace back in this vicinity, holds, and goes for the next. It can go sideways and then pop. Or it can kind of do that. I guess 4th choice, it could just keep on ripping. Unlikely, but it could. Unlikely. So, CVS, Charlie Victor Sierra. Been on a nice roadmap bounce here. I didn't mean to do that. Let's undo that. Pull this up here. Pull this down here. set for a move out to 74.46 right there. That's Charlie Victor Sierra BBAI. Those little flags are starting to mess with me a little bit. BBI Big Bear. We made this high back here. We made this big retrace, and we're sitting here. Got all that. I don't remember what I was talking about before. But here we go. Can we break it out? We closed up in here. Now, I do caution you. This is low price stuff, under 10 bucks. When we have price action under 10 bucks, it kind of puts this in a class of its own that maybe it doesn't work the way higher price stocks work. There's liquidity issues. There are funds that can't participate in things that are under like 20 bucks. So when we're under 10 bucks, that puts it in a whole like class of its own that maybe it'll follow the patterns, maybe the liquidity is too low and we see some crazy stuff. So we have this kind of potential here that this is the first move down, retrace, second move down. But we also have this upside potential right here to 1280 area, 1279, 1280. So those are the two potential pathways, grinding on higher through this 750 resistance here. Tips the odds we're probably going on up here. We'll be very cautious. These have been pretty vicious in the past. So even with this retrace, it could be similar to this one over here. That we might see a push down further. So I don't know. Can it ride the hype or not? Slab. Silicon Laboratories. So we're stuck in this channel. If we can break through, even though we're sitting right up here at it, we got to break through that downtrend of resistance. We can break through, make a higher high than here, make a higher high than here, make a higher high than here. Those are all levels of resistance we'll have to climb through to get higher. I don't like that kind of setup necessarily. Now, the thing I would like is if we ripped out, came back, solidly retested, then started up again. That's a solid potential breakout for going higher. We see that a lot. If we reject, downside is back down here, back to the bottom of the channel. Potentially that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 complete. Leading diagonals. So we could see it pop up in here, fail, and break back down. It's a common pattern too. Not much clarity on that. FCX coming up into resistance. I've been looking for a bigger downside on this one for a while. Got my target down here. We've come up into that 618. Did that in a big 1, 2, 3. Move up. Potential to come on down again. Now, what would convince me we're going higher? Got these little gaps right here. That one. We've got this one. We're going to have to get through both of those to convince me that we're actually going to go right up in here. Target's not a lot higher. So some of these stocks have just been chopping around. I mean, really, this has gone no big place since back here in 21. So for nearly 4 years, it's just been messing around. It's been doing the mess around. It's not like giant opportunity to me to make money. I like things that are trend pullback continuation. That's not a trend. That's a sideways choppy hot mess. So not really the kind of place I want to put my money to try to make a bunch of money. I mean, might I remind you, look at the last year, 98% win rate here. The only thing I lost on was protection for VIX, and And this number is actually much higher because I have net open profit that I haven't booked yet on Rocket Lab, DJT, Merck, Delta Airlines, DocU. So the ones I'm kind of bullish on, DocU, kind of think we're this high or low, really like it for a push up higher. And Delta Airlines, really bullish for a pop up to new highs. Rocket Lab, get a pullback, but bullish for that extension on up here, possibly to 55. I wouldn't probably get involved in that right now. We might retrace back down in here. I'll be very careful chasing that one at the moment. If we get a pullback, it's good to go again. Bullish on Tesla. I mean, bullish on DJT. We've been sitting right here today. Getting a little, we were seeing a little pop, but turned red by the close. If we can break back up out of this roadmap line here, 24, bigger picture upside, 36, potential to rally all the way back up to highs, 50 to 60. Be pretty darn bullish right there. And then Merck, this one, man, if I'd only waited a day to sell my calls. Look at that. Sold my call right down here. So far, if this breaks out, probably rallying on up. Roadmap line, we get through it. This can pop in a big way. Do have that gap down resistance right there at 100. So those are some of the ones I'm bullish on. I've talked about these. UAL, bullish on that one too. So be careful on some of these ones that are just chopping around though. Lulu probably breaking down, going lower. Did make a lower low, so nothing that I've drawn over here matters anymore except the potential to go lower down to 208. Maybe even down to 150. First move down, retrace. Second move down, can put it down in this zone. And Apple Dumpling, what's crack-a-lackin'? Probably got resistance coming up at the roadmap line and this 618. And if we can get up there, that completes this pattern for a bigger downside. First move down, second move down. That downside could be down here around 130, 120, 130, 140 at this point. Doesn't move it hugely off, from this high that we've currently got. If you spiked it up, doesn't move that bottom much. And we're talking 125 to 130 maybe. Could come up short at 145, but somewhere down in this is what I would expect after this pop is done. MA, roadmap bounce. Came up shy of the 600. Still expecting 600. Run the fib line off of the current roadmap bounce. Still 600, 605, roughly. And DG, another one fairly bullish on, but I didn't get a piece of it. So coming up into the gap fill, that may, when we fill this gap, we may get a negative reaction back to the roadmap line area. That would be a point to load up. If you're not in it right now, be careful. If we do hit this up here, consider protecting it or putting a stop close in here, because if we break back down below here, very easily come back in this area for support, retest, then go higher from there. Now, could we just break on out? Sure, but we do have another gap down right there, another gap down right here. This one did fill. You can see what happened on the last fill over here. That gap right there, we filled it, poked a little above it, and then got another gap down. So this has been a beat down stock. We do have these gap down areas we're going to have to come up and fill. So I've been talking about, we probably have resistance, a resistance ladder we've got to climb, get that gap filled up there before we can possibly work on approaching the prior high. It's got some work to do. And watching that retrace back to the roadmap line and set up a good base would make me feel a lot stronger about a healthy upside. And Goldman Sachs targets 717, right at it. This may be setting up to do a retrace next week or week after next on earnings. Be very careful. And coming on down, coming on down, coming on down. And CRM. Potential to drop right there. So here's the, we're kind of working on this consolidation right here. If we drop it, probably coming down here. If we pop it, could just be popping up here. And it's a zone of ambiguity on the price pattern at the moment. Got higher lows. We're still under the roadmap line. That puts downward pressure, is my expectation, until we're above this zone right in here. So back above about 310. Probably set up for 420 to 460 on the upside for CRM. And rolling on down. Oopta. Sitting on the roadmap line. No clear direction, no clear nothing. This pushes on down. We could rally all the way down to the bottom of the box. Somewhere around 70 bucks. If we can rally up, break through that 115 area. We do have a gap down all the way up to there. So it could rally all the way back and still reject hard. I don't like that until it clears up that gap. Just don't like it. Weak sauce until we get that gap filled. Not giant opportunity for me. And that's just the way I trade, so take it or leave it. All right. Made it down to the bottom of PayPal. I see it, Dawn. PayPal right there. So that'll be the last one I hit before I jump to the other screen with the cursor. And we're stuck right on this roadmap line right there. Got this giant pullback here. This resistance, 618, hanging right there. This is a stock I cover in crypto power plays if you want to know more about it. But first move down, retrace. Second move down, potential to come down to 42, 44 area. I've had that zone on there for 3 years now. That I expected it to tag that 42 area, 42, 43. Just keep, we got really close right there, but we missed. We did this retrace. Looks like it needs one more flush right down in there. All right. I'll go back, pick up most of the subscribers, and we'll come back around. So, all right. Rocket Lab. We already kind of hit that. I'm bullish, but that does not negate having a retrace right here. The breakout level right there. We basically got right down to it today, right down in the vicinity. Has a little bit lower it could go. Push into that. If we push into it, hold, sets up the next upside target right there at 41.60 and potential to rally up to 55 right up here. Very classic. We'll hit the 1272, or I mean the 1448, 90% of the 1272. Retrace back to the breakout, push back higher, get the 1272. Then we see what happens. If it can consolidate and push higher, we can see 55. If it retraces, watch for it to hold this area. If it pushes on back down through the breakouts, probably going back deeper, back to the roadmap line, and that could put us out here in August timeframe. That's what to watch there on Rocket Lab. TGT already hit. TQQQ is it's QQQ. Already covered Nasdaq. NNE. We're not going to waste time looking at SPY and QQQ when we already talked about those. NNE, look for that retrace right there. If we don't hold that, could be the first move down, second move down, somewhere down in the low 14 area right there. AMR. And wow, what a nasty chart right there. Probably working on a bigger retrace. So we did this. We had this low back here. We had this high up here. And we are due to come all the way back down in here, probably. Maybe like, well, I don't think that's happening. Be careful. Yeah. Definitely be careful. I can definitely come back down. Right in that zone. Here. I can hear the cicadas right now. It's crazy. Probably going to go up to 185. That doesn't negate getting a retrace to the roadmap line. Right in here. Find support and ramp up. Right there. This kicked off the entry right back over here. That gives you 99% of the time this will hit up here within 150 trading days or about 220 calendar days. Just on average. So coming up there doesn't negate the pattern. It's just going to take more time. NVS. Hit the target. Watch for the retrace. And OPFI. Remember, if I say anything that's helpful, beneficial, give me a thumbs up. Do appreciate it. OPFI, looking for first move down, second move down. If we can hold the roadmap line, could go higher, but if we break down, we could come on down into the $6 area. This is low price stuff, down around 10 bucks. Half the price action on this chart's been under 10 bucks. So UFO, picture space, procure space, blah blah blah. However you say it. Hit the target. Right there. Watch for the retrace. If we can hold the breakouts, go higher. All the things I said earlier about Rocket Lab. If we don't, could come down to the roadmap line. And next up, Whirlpool Corporation. Well, maybe it finally bottomed out. I was looking for that back last summer. Took a little diversion, came back down. Possible we finally bottomed out. That was a really deep retrace. For that rip. Until we beat this gap down, there's still potential to make a lower low than that COVID low right there. Still got that potential until we get above that. Get above that, probably tips the odds we're going higher. If we come up here and reject, lower. I would not be convinced we're bottomed out yet. Now, flip side of that, Lowe's and Home Depot look pretty strong. Home builders potentially trying to reverse here. This is a 3x bull leverage ETF. If we can get above that resistance, things could start looking better. You know, Lowe's does potentially have a bottom in place, breaking higher than this high right back here in May. Could be indicative that we're going higher. Home Depot does have a bullish setup similar to Lowe's, breaking higher than that high right there. Could indicate we're going higher. You know, both Lowe's and Home Depot are big sellers of Whirlpool stuff, along with Best Buy. The chart looks very similar here on Best Buy too. We're gonna have to break through these highs and that roadmap line to indicate we're going higher. Could be strong for a Whirlpool right there. Citigroup probably pushing on up. Target 90.43 and TEK. Got resistance right here, and then bigger resistance at the 618. Save some of these. And draw, please. Those right there. That'll be resistance. And yeah. That'll be a resistance zone, and we may rally up into that, turn back down, retest the roadmap line before we push higher. Target on the breakout, 60 right there. We can just push through it. 60 on the target up there on TEK. TNC going down to 50 right there. And EW. We've got that gap down. Resistance right there. I wouldn't be sure we're done on the outside. That looks pretty gnarly for a continuation lower. And CMPG, CPNG, say the letters in the right order and type them. So we're coming up into that resistance there. Possible to get up to 39. Retrace is also highly likely at this point. Highly likely. I would be cautious on the retrace here. Could push up 38, 39, 43. But I would be very cautious for the retrace if I was long that. Affirm. Set for the breakouts. 94. CLSK has not been performing very well. Resistance up here at this 618. Got to get through that to go higher. 30 is kind of the upside potential right now. But this could be a big measured bounce. It takes us even higher, but we're going to have to get through this big resistance blob, start making some upside, retrace, retest, support from above to push higher. So I'm not convinced that's going to perform at this point. And I just lost where I was in the chat. There we go. It jumped up for some reason. TPC, man, be careful. That's probably going to retrace whenever it gets done running. And it can be violent and fast like this one over here. I see. Yeah, sometimes I don't have like much more to offer. This one hitting its head on that prior resistance. Probably going to come back to the roadmap line, build support, and then go higher again. IDXX in this choppy sideways crap here. And be careful. That's been a fair resistance point at that 573 area for a while. So you in. And big fat retrace. That was very overlapping and corrective type action up off the low. Leading diagonals. That was not bullish continuation. That overlapped right here, this low, overlapping with that prior high. That's not bullish. This right here and this right here is the two I'm talking about overlapping. That can easily lead to a deeper, darker retrace here. And Sledge, if you're around, this is like that case where I was talking about we might see deep retraces down to 786, possibly even 88. This is one of those cases. Right there. Now, could it go higher? Sure. Does it look like it's going to? Not really. Not really. Levi. Lower highs. That was a lower low. See that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This could be a retrace. And we can get further downside here. We can go deep up into this 21 area. And this gap down all the way up here. Okay, fill the gap down even. Come up in here and still see further downside. There's the market back open. Futures will start chooching here in a minute. And MKC. McCormick. Didn't really move much on earnings. I mean, look at this. We've been just kind of sideways. It's just been grinding. Kraft Heinz plummeting into the abyss. We're not seeing a lot of can't ever HRL. SJM. Some of these tickers I can't remember very well. And it's food stuff just not looking super strong. Like, I guess the battle on having to change their ingredients to comply with food dyes and all that new regulation. NBC, Master Brand, resistance at the roadmap line. This is a low price ticker. Might be due to a return to the low. Possible it's a measured bounce. Doesn't have a lot of history to go off of here. Don't have a lot to say about that one. It's under the roadmap line, still bearish. Ramp. Trend of lower highs. Small term and big term. Until we break through that, still got downside potential on ramp. That bit is just Bitcoin. Already did that. A-Lab. Bitcoin has a 50% upside potential. Has a correction potential, like 10%. So that's your 50% upside, IBIT, 10% downside, IBIT. ALB, still just chopping. That's a corrective overlapping thing. Resistance right up here at 70. Downside potential 40 at this point. Maybe even 35. And not much change there. Amrite Precious Metals. Why'd you get into it? What was your target? What should I do? There's resistance right there, and looks like we have further downside potential on that one. Hadn't really been performing very well. And MTZ. There's a high, there's low, resistance 180. And it is pouring. JP Morgan, there's the 293, possibly 306. Retrace to the roadmap line would be what I expect. Nike, talked about that. 110, or not 110, excuse me. 110 is Delta. Go up to the bigger picture. This has a measured bounce. Measured bounce could take us up into this 250, 385, maybe even 400 area up here. Now, if it breaks down and fails, we could see it down in this zone. So it's one of those. Got to be careful. Right there. CMG. Resistance here. I don't know. This is starting to look a little suspicious to me. Didn't really have a good 5-wave flush here. So this possibly could be an A wave. And we could be looking at a B wave. And we could get a C wave that flushes it on down further. I'm optimistic that this bottom might hold here. Could go higher. It's not been very enthusiastic, and I don't like the price action structure right there. It's not overly impulsive so far. If we can actually get a move up, retrace, hold at the roadmap line, that would set up a bullish potential. Much more strong for me, but right now, there's a lot of choppy price action and a little spike that can easily lead to a rejection of this area and a move lower. Caution on that one. It's potentially bullish, but caution. EXAS, pretty much bearish. Nasty down trending price action. Needs a lower low down here around 25. EST. Set for a pop, 215. Nothing really changed there. EH. Kind of sideways chop there. Slight uptrend of lows. Not very trendy. As in, it's not a stock that tends to trend very well. This was a bubble pattern back here, and it kind of popped violently down to a lower low, and we've just been grinding. Have not been able to get above 30 for the last 4 years. I don't know. I don't have a lot to offer on EH. None to make you feel good. DG, I'm pretty sure I already covered that one. Yeah. APH. Yeah, we're at ridiculous levels. There's not really anything to predict here. We got that high, we got that low. 107 maybe. Big retrace is probably coming on APH, HS1. Grinding the lows here. We've got this large resistance here. Until we get above it, I'm not really gonna. So there's the upside potential. Bouncing off of it could bring us down to a lower low. Now, that all said, this was a relatively bullish move. This correction is holding the 618 zone so far. If we can possibly break above that orange zone, could embark on a rally up into this 400 area. But we also could go deeper, back down to those lows there from before COVID. So, Jets, man, it is pouring. Holy moly. Looks kind of choppy. Heard some people saying that seemed like it was close to Delta and United, but this looks more like American's chart to me. That choppy kind of grind lower. UAL has a more bullish stance cooking for me. DAL has a more bullish stance cooking for me versus Jets. This lower high situation, it doesn't necessarily look like it bottomed out, and it has a lot of overlap on this price action here. So a little bit caution there. And then BA has this downside potential. First move down, retrace. Second move down, roadmap line, possibly the 50%, possibly even the 618. We can hold that kind of stuff. Hold one of those levels in there. Sets it up for the next potential rally. 300, higher than this move over here. Maybe even up something crazy. 360, 600. I don't know. But we're going to have to, we need the retrace to be able to support the next move. So, just talking about the whole airline industry there. PFE. Dun, 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 dun. Stalling out so far. Right into that roadmap line. As long as we're below it or at it, downward pressure. If we can get above it, back test it, break through this next set of highs, start looking for upside. I'm not convinced we're bottomed out yet. It's just clean charted here after deleting a bunch of stuff. So there's potential that this is a measured bounce. How will we know? Now, the problem here, that looks more like 5 down than it does 3 down. Kind of ambiguous compared to the move up, but is holding the 618. That next move could put it up to 120. Be like almost a 5x. Not bad. Could go even higher. Be like a 7x. But we got to get through that roadmap line on the weekly to kind of tip the odds. And then the 618 right there, right above that. So we've got these levels of resistance, 30 and 40, to prove we're going higher. So could you sell puts down here? 20? Sure. If you think it's going to hold this area. If it breaks down, though, the downside risk is down in the single digits for Pfizer. Not super strong. So that's like risk 75% to potentially make like 5 to 7 times your money. Oh, I can't speak if that's worth it or not for you. For me right now, I'm not gonna touch it until it starts looking more bullish. I can do more research on it though. Pfizer and Pfizer. It's kind of overlappy on the correction here. Didn't come down to any kind of support that I would expect necessarily. And we may have further downs, like even if this rallies, we may have further downside into this area right here. That would kind of make sense to me because we have these highs coming across here. Come back test that zone, hold this area, and go higher. That'd be pretty nice, but right now it looks like the trend is done, and we're working on a retrace. Something down in here. Breaking back above that would indicate we're going higher. Pfizer. ETF stocker index. I don't know what that refers to. Netflix. Pushing on out. Potential 1500. The upside for shift. Resistance right here. potential downside. If we can get above this, potential upside, 140, 138, 140. Right there, shift 4, ANET, ANET. This has that same kind of pattern Apple has. Okay, this first move down in a 5-way fashion, this retrace to a 618. Right there. Can easily copy, echo that move, push lower. Right there. Could be looking for something down around 45 for ANET. Oracle kind of pushed into targets. I would be very careful on a retrace. I was pretty bullish on this, but now it's on my wait and see list, waiting for a pullback. We can pull back, retest the breakout, push it on up to the 1618, which is sitting right up here at 270. If we consolidate right here, I probably wouldn't get involved, but it can also clear it. So retrace to here, set it up for going higher. Could just rip. Doesn't really give you a chance. There's no, I'm a trend pullback continuation trader, so no pullback, no opportunity to get in. There's plenty of other stuff that is pulling back, plenty of other stuff that has opportunity. I've had no shortage of trades, as you can see over here. So just one of those. It was looking pretty bullish, but now it's on my wait and see list. Iron, I thought I already looked at this today. 18 potential on the upside. Play Dave and Buster's. That's a downtrend. Lower high, lower high, lower high. Has potential to break out, but we're going to have to get back above some of these upside resistance points. Like this junk right there. Basically. Big resistance zone we've built up for years here. We have to get back up through that and get above it with gusto because we rejected right there at 70. So we're going to have to push through this, back test it, prove we're going to hold it, and get going to get some upside. 100 is possible. We've got this big zone of resistance all up in here. All up in our business up to 50. Not my idea of a great opportunity at the moment. It stopped raining and then went right back to raining super hard. It's funny. PSIX 78 upside. Watch for the retrace back to the roadmap line. LNW. That's kind of lower highs, potential for a down. Push down to lower low. Right there. Estee Lauder. Gonna have to break through this gap down resistance right in here. This right here. Gonna have to break through that. And then we've got another one hanging out way up here. Holy moly, man. Somebody dumped a bucket of water on the roof. It literally was like, whoom. So retrace back to the roadmap line. Could support rallying higher. Could have plenty of upward runway. This is a potential measured bounce. If we can get through those resistance points. Big picture, this one could go quite a bit higher. We could be looking at something up in this area right up here. All the makeup in the world could be Estee Lauder in the 2030s. Let's see. FTX. Funny story about FTX. So my package that Fume's here, that was here the other day when I was talking about the package that was bouncing back and forth between two towns in Kansas. I called FedEx, got hung up on by their AI system several times. Finally talked to a human. That human put in a case, and the next day, my package was in Knoxville. Surprise! Overnight, it went to Nashville, then to Knoxville. The next day, it was in Knoxville. Now, it went out for delivery like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday last week. Never got delivered. I talked to somebody on Friday about it. They said, there's no excuse. Your address is correct. I can pull up Google Maps and see your address. No problem. No excuse for the driver not to deliver. It kept saying the driver can't find me. And so we'll definitely deliver it Monday. Monday came. Monday went. No package. No notes. No nothing. Today, the package is back in Nashville. What the heck? And there were 4 more packages that were supposed to be delivered last week that were bouncing around with that one. And those showed up today. And the delivery driver said, oh, yeah, we're consolidating the warehouses, like UPS or FedEx Ground and FedEx, normal express packages. Like, we're combining those warehouses all into one facility, and everything's chaos right now. I was like, awesome. So nobody knows what the heck's going on. And open a tertiary case on the same package that went to Nashville. They're like, yeah, we'll track it down. We'll get it sent back to Knoxville for you. And the driver today is like, we'll get it to you. Just keep on it. So, somewhere along the way, somebody told me the magic phrase to say to the AI that'll dump me to a human right away. So that's beneficial. But FedEx here, below the roadmap line is bearish on the weekly, bearish on the daily, and we still have downside potential down to 110, 120 right there. Not great. Oklo. Tap the targets. Watch for the retrace back to the roadmap line. Nothing magic there. SU, just sideways chop. Kind of at the lower end of this, but move down through the roadmap line. Could come back into these lows that we've had the past couple of years very easily right there. And how do I make quick cash? Not following me. Just be honest with you. I'm more about consistent. I tend to be a retired trader, only going after the best of the best stuff because I don't like to lose money. Part of the being conservative, not liking to lose money, you don't make quick cash necessarily. It doesn't mean I don't make big gains, but tend to be more of a calculated strategist here. Qualcomm has resistance right there. Support right down here. And as long as we're in between, this big blue arrow going across here is going to continue to be in play. Sideways. Now, MU had the same kind of pattern and finally started breaking out. Probably coming back for a quick retest here. And push higher. For MU to push on up to 180. UBT. Upside 32. Man, Thunder's kicking up now. And BCL finally got back to the PayPal request. And they're pushing on out. 29.57 potential. MDB. Bearish under the roadmap line. Downside potential down here to 90s. TEM. TSLA. Just grinding this roadmap line here. Grinding. That was kind of actually bearish coming up here off the IPO, which many times leads to a push down to a lower low. IPOs are bearish, if you didn't know. T-Mobile. We're still working on the correction till we break out of this downward funk. Lower highs. We're at the zone. We're going to have to push up, retest, and get ramping up. I think we're potentially bullish with this month being the month that Starlink gets turned on system-wide, but we'll see what actually happens for T-Mobile. So fine. 20 upside targets. It's actually broke out, actually pushed higher, so 20 would be the target. But then watch out for a retrace, come down pretty violently, and even make a lower low still. Right there, ETSY. Yeah, kind of like this. Wow. Kind of a corrective move up. Potential to push that down to a lower low, 38. Right there on Etsy. And Roku. Yeah, stuck in this sideways. We've retraced down to the zone and just gone sideways. Not really very committal. We have a pretty firm upside resistance right here. We've got a fairly good downside support right in here. And as long as we're staying in between that, it's kind of like Qualcomm. Probably just going to go churn sideways here. And Oklo already did. Bull. So that's likely to return down to a lower low. And watch for that to retrace back to the roadmap line. Right there. Thank you, Sledge. AVGO. Yeah. Watch for that to return to the roadmap line. There's potential it pushes on out to 295, but after that monster run, be careful. MSTR. So be careful here. I don't have it hitting the roadmap line here. You know, it did trigger roadmap bounce back here. I don't have it on, for whatever reason. It's probably still split adjusted, maybe. I don't know. The roadmap line that shows up on my daily finder is slightly different than this one. Might be due to the split back there. Splits tend to mess with these things. This looks like it wants to reach down here. With Bitcoin retracing, potentially, I would be very careful. And why? Why in particular? I know several of you are, very concerned about this. I have MSTX long, so I understand that. Looking for bullish, but this right here is 3-wave. This right here is 3-wave. 3 down, 3 up. Continuation would be 5 down. And the roadmap line. This is the nature of the corrective pattern that we've got cooking here. First move down. Retrace. And copy paste. Look where the beautifulness comes out right there. Goes that move. This retrace. That move comes out right there. Now, time frame is not what I'm predicting. It's just size of the move. It can go faster and be down there in a day or 3. And it can take longer and be out there in a month or 2. Somewhere in this 320 to 340 zone is highly likely where we're going to find support. Because of this 3-wave move down, 3-wave move up, and a setup to get a final flush. This move up off this low. very much the same as the big picture. You see how this move right here, this move right there, projected off of this low. We did that exact same target as this target right here, upside down. It's a corrective move target right there. So this, even though it's a correction, establishes the trend. Three-wave move corrects the trend. This finishes the trend right there. All right, it's MSTR for you. Marvel. Grind in the roadmap line. 87 upside resistance. Get through all that. Target 146. BBI already did. XMR USD. Has no great. Probably coming back to the roadmap line right there. I kind of overdrew that. Right there. Whoop. I'll cover crypto on Friday. And QS. SQQS. That looks like a nasty grind. So this is a. Those are meme stock pops, basically. Day traders hitting that thing. Highly likely to come back down, make a lower low. That's just been the trend. Amazingly, we don't see any reverse splits, but probably going to push that thing on down. I'm not very big on what is that help? What is that line? What is that phrase? All right. Hey. What's the phrase? You want personal financial advice, hire and consult a financial advisor. It's not what I do, so asking me what you should do is not going to get you any help. So for FedEx, what is that line for FedEx? Yeah, let's see. That's back to what is that line? What is what line? The downside? Right down here. Why? Because this move down, this move up, and that move down puts us right down here. That was 5 up. Right there. That's the highest high. This is a lower high. First move down, second move down. Right there. Oh, what's the phrase for FedEx? They told me not to tell everybody. I can private message you if you need it. If you need to get through the AI system, I'm not gonna put it on here on YouTube because then they'll change it. Like everybody be watching it. So the secret phrase from FedEx. I can't tell you. Like I can't put it on the internet. They were like, don't tell. So, yeah. Ask me in Discord if you need it. If you need to call in. You know, I'm not just gonna put it down on the record. So I've got it written on my desk. So. NEE. But when you do use the special phrase and it does kick you to a person, they ask you a specific question and you gotta, you actually have to have your crap together because if you don't, they're gonna hang up on you. Gotta have all your tracking numbers and stuff in hand. So there you go. That's NEE for you. Sideways chop. It's not help from a person. It was very odd. Like so they've got these people that've been calling me to correct my address. They've been like checking every time I get a delivery exception. These guys call me. They're like, "Can we verify your address?" And one of them is the one that said, I'm going to tell you something. This is like, this phrase is very important. And it took him saying it twice before I realized what he told me. It was the shortcut through the AI. So, but then you have to have your tracking numbers and case number and all that stuff when you get through. Anyway, there you go. That's NEE. All right, everybody. Whatever, Kimberly. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you again. You actually get XP for chatting. Looks like on YouTube now. That's kind of cool. Kind of fun. See you again in the morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. 9:15 tomorrow. We'll go through, look at the market moving, try to find some market movers. Like I said, Thursday early close. Friday close for the day. I think the futures are open anyway. Probably a 1 p.m. close on futures both days. Something crazy like that. And then we'll be back again on Monday, normal day. But I'll be here talking crypto on Friday. So be here all week. Have a great day, everybody. See you again tomorrow.